Hey, Nettie, that was a terrific reading with some authority, hey? After a voice like that, who wants to listen to a voice like this? Seriously. Maybe I should just give Nettie my notes and you can preach and preach it, brother. Bless you. And look, that was lovely. The whole morning and the worship and it's great to hear the sax there. Trevor, welcome back. I mean, seriously, and especially to this one over here, Troubler of Israel, they call her. Good to see you, Jane. Hey. We're back in the Beatitudes, but we haven't made very much progress. This is my 4th week in, by the way. This is the longest I've lasted in a job. So, I didn't tell you that at the interview stages, did I? No. So, thank you for bearing with me for so long. Hey, let's continue. We're in verse 5 of Matthew 5. Was that me?
That was me.
Okay, you're forgiven, mate. I'm glad it wasn't me. Let me tell you about Dr. Viggo Olsen. He went out to Bangladesh as a missionary doctor and really did an amazing work there right through the War of Independence and beyond. But in his book, he tells his story, and it's brilliant. I remember just reading it, and you have to giggle, because he was invited to have a meal with a real high government official, a real high dignitary. And arriving there, he saw everyone obviously wanted to sit as close as they could to the dignitary. But Viggo just felt biblically, just sort of taking a lower seat. He'll sit just somewhere, out of sight and somewhere humble, not present himself in any way or push himself forward, although he was this great acclaimed doctor. And then just as the dignitary arrived, he noticed the doctor there. And you know what he said? You know what's coming, don't you? He goes, "Doctor, what are you doing sitting there?" He said to the guy sitting next to him, "Oi, get up, move." and Viggo got to sit there in the seat of highest honour. I tell you that because I think it captures something of the essence of what is being said in Matthew 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. What does meekness look like? Well, I think it looks something like what we've just witnessed in the doctor there. But really, that's just the beginning. And I want to spend our time with us this morning just trying to unpack that. It's complex. It's a complex term. We don't use it very often in our world today. So let me begin. She's not here, Linda, but I've changed the title of the sermon. I'm sorry, Linda, and especially if this is important to you, from selflessness to great recognition, from that to deference, from deference to great recompense. I think that sums up the passage better. From deference to great recompense. Okay, here's a word we're looking at today. Meek. Blessed are the meek. Praies there in the Greek, and I think I've just got it for you there. It means the quality of not being overly impressed by a sense of one's self-importance. It means no matter how nice I think my shirt is, I don't think it's nice, but you do, don't you? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Overly impressed by one's sense of self-importance, gentleness, humility, courtesy, considerateness, meekness in the older favourable sense. How it used to mean. I know we don't use it today. So I think that kind of tries to give us an idea of what meekness is, and yet I don't think it quite captures it. It falls short. I think when you start to consider what meekness is, you end up with more questions than answers. I think it's a term that's shrouded in mystery. Look, it's not, let me tell you this, and I'm going to deal with this at the end. It's not weakness, but neither is it aggressive strength. Okay? Not weakness, but not aggressive strength. It's not fragility, but it's not in-your-face bullshiness. It's not incompetence, but neither is it arrogant self-aggrandizement. So what is it? We're going to deal with it. We're going to try and explore that a little more. But I want to say something here at the beginning of it, because this is very important. It's an essential quality of acquisition of heaven. It's that important. It's a prerequisite for heaven. Listen, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. And by earth there, we're not talking about the one that's broken now. Which earth are we talking about? The one to come. Or more commonly referred to by us as heaven. Thank you. And can you see the importance of this now? We're not talking about life now. We're talking about life then. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. This is not a minor doctrine. Hey guys, this isn't just a freebie I'm just throwing in at the beginning of my ministry here. This is quintessential Christianity. I want to suggest this is deadly serious. And to lack this quality, to be meek, to lack this quality, this gospel transformation that occurs in ourselves when we're regenerated, when we're born again. We believe in being born again, don't we? You know what that entails? It entails a new nature, a new character, a new self, a new me. Yeah, and you see, to be born again and to lack this quality, I think calls into question our regeneration. So it's really important. More on that later. Let me take you back to the Old Testament. Psalm 37. I love Psalm 37. I have several psalms that I love to read before I fall asleep, usually quite late, as some of you know. Psalm 37 being one of them. And look in verse 11. Matthew 5 echoes verse 11. Here it is. But the meek will inherit the land and enjoy great peace. And you can see that Jesus has developed this thought in his Beatitude. Here's what a well-respected commentator says. The thought refers primarily to Palestine, though the idea is more generally of the meek supplanting the wicked. Jesus applies it not territorially, but in terms of the ultimate vindication of the meek. God will give them the high place they will not seize for themselves. I don't know if that's gobbledygook or he makes more sense. You probably think, Montaz, he makes much more sense than you do. Is that what you're thinking? No. I hope not. Well, we could fall out, you know. Well, actually, I don't think I could. I mean, after being invited to such a delicious fellowship of meal the other day by this lovely couple to my left, I could hardly fall out with you, Kathy. Look, the meek so conduct themselves, it seems, that it may look like that they're missing out. This is what meekness looks like. You conduct yourself in such a way as though it looks like you're missing out. It may look like you so prefer others that you never get anything for yourself. And yet God says of the meek that though that's how it may look, he recognizes it. And in fact, the Psalm 37 seems to suggest that they are the one who supplant the wicked. They, rather than lose out, acquire God's blessing. Rather than being sidelined, are brought to the centre. Like the doctor, rather than being ignored or overseen, are recognised. And I think that's what Jesus is saying in the Beatitude. That the meek, rather than push themselves forward, trying to get, and you know, I want to say something about this, I think, here. Do you know, if I'm only into Jesus because of what I can get out of it, You know, I used to preach those sermons when I was 16, and I'm ashamed of myself, if I'm honest. I'm ashamed of myself for a lot of things, but especially this one. I used to preach this as a young 16-year-old a couple of years ago. Maybe 10, would you agree? Okay, 12, right? You know, come to Jesus and he will make your life better. Ever said that? Come to Jesus and he'll fix everything that's wrong with your life. Do you know that's not the gospel? If I'm only in for Jesus for what I can get out of him, I may not get anything out of him. The meek come to Jesus, not grasping, but in humility. Christian, this is a characteristic that has to take a hold of me. It's a prerequisite to me going to heaven. It's an essential characteristic of a Christian, let alone a minister. Hey, I tell you, do you know this job? It stinks. Seriously. Because you didn't realise that everything I'm preaching to you has no impact on me. Okay. But it must, mustn't it? It must. It must. And I end up saying to myself, hey, who is sufficient for these things? Really? I don't feel up to the task. I got fired at my last place. I don't feel up to the task. But the gospel must have its impact and work in us, mustn't it? In every one of us. And so, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Deference to great recompense. I'm going to just pick up on that at the end of its impact on our future. But for now, I want to unpack this with you. I've been waffling up and over, I don't know how long. 30 minutes? Feels like that, doesn't it? You're thinking, oh boy, it feels like 30 minutes. Look, I think it's been 5, 6, but I want to now unpack. I want to try and unpack what this word means. And it's complex, please bear with me. Look, meekness is a rare jewel. Okay? It's a rare jewel. A quality that we only see. Let me ask you. You're sitting there. Why should I do all the talking? Okay, so have a go. Where do we see it most brilliantly? Meekness is a virtue that we see most brilliantly when? This is an easy one. Yeah. Oh, lovely. Do you know, that's beautiful, isn't it? You're talking about our Peter? Do you know, what a lovely thing to say. Well, you know, you didn't say Montaz, I noticed, but okay, we'll take Peter. That's lovely. Okay, and where is he? He's not in here, is he? Beyond Peter, if we're thinking as broadly as we can, where would we expect to see meekness most beautifully exhibited?
Mother Teresa?
Yeah. God, why do I feel Mother Teresa? Absolutely. I was quite young when she was at work, but from what I remember, absolutely. Thank you, Jay. And I heard one more, and let's broaden it even further, and I think I heard it somewhere over there.
Jesus.
We would expect it to be in Jesus. In Peter, in Mother Teresa, but most perfectly, you'd expect to see it in Jesus. I want to turn to him. I want to turn to Jesus now. I want to just set, look, it's 4 weeks in, isn't it? I want to set the stage for what I hope my ministry would look like. Look, it's the 4th time you've heard me preach in this arranged marriage that was arranged by the JNC. So if you don't like it, blame them. I think I said that last time. We're beginning to learn what we each other are like, aren't we? You're beginning to see what I'm like first thing in the morning when I get out of bed and my hair's a mess. Not that I've got a lot of hair to be in a mess. One of the things about having not much hair is that it doesn't get a mess. Okay? We're getting to know each other. One thing I want to establish really at the beginning of my ministry, look, you may not think anything of my preaching, and that's okay. At least I've got my pastoral skills to fall back on. But you may not think anything of my pastoral skills either. So I don't know where that leaves us. But hey, if my ministry leaves you with nothing else, I hope you can say of me, he wasn't much good at the job we gave him to do. But boy, did he talk about Jesus a lot. But boy, did he talk about Jesus a lot. If I can leave you with that. It's all I could do. It's the best I could do. I want to turn to Jesus now. I want to turn to Jesus with you, and I want to show you what he's like. Okay? We haven't got a lot of time. I'll try and do 2 or 3 of these in the time we have. First of all, let me take you to the passage so lovely and well read for us by Nettie. Matthew 11 there. This is Jesus' self-revelation. Okay? Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. We have the most brilliant presentation of meekness. What is it like? We don't use this word again a lot, do we? It's gentle. Gentle. I think that's an antonym for aggression. It's not aggressive. You know, some people can be really in your face. Jesus is gentle. He approaches a circumstance, it seems, with care, thoughtfulness, consideration. It's humble. You see with humility there, don't you? Humility is disregard for one's own personal interests. It's preferring somebody else's good. You know, I was once at a meal, not too long ago, and I was having a meal, I was eating my own food, and there was somebody sitting opposite me, and you know, they ordered and they paid, and so they obviously had the best dish. Okay, and here's me with my little humble, anything. And in the middle of this meal, I'm just joking, it was beautiful, and I really found it touching. They got prawns. Who likes prawns? Oh, I like prawns. And they got I think the biggest prawn on their plate, and saw me with my vegetables. It was beef. And put their prawn on my plate. That was lovely, wasn't it? It was just absolutely lovely. I think that's what Jesus would have done. It's that preference of others over ourselves. And look how Jesus demonstrates this. That's his self-revelation. But look how this gets demonstrated. He's now doing this Sermon on the Mount, which has lasted several days. This is a long sermon. We've only got a snippets of it in Matthew 5. Now in Matthew 8, he comes down from the mountain. We're told, look, Matthew 8, when he came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus reached out his hand, touched the man. I am willing. Be clean. Why is this meekness? Do you know why this is meekness? What on earth is he doing there? What's wrong with this fella?
He's ill.
He's got a skin condition for which he is a social outcast. You know what Jesus' response to him should have been? Get out! He's contaminating. You know what it's like in COVID? You remember COVID? How would you have felt? Somebody turned up in the heat of it without a mask, breathing, coughing on you. This guy should not be there. Jesus should banish him. And yet, look at it. Do you want to see meekness? Jesus reached out his hand and touched him. It's beautiful, isn't it? No concern for his own religious or ceremonial cleanliness. Or by the fact that he could get ill. And touched the man and spoke these words. And I love these words. I am willing. And made the leper well. Let me tell you something about Jesus. When we encounter him, he cannot be contaminated by us. On the contrary, we are purified by him. Right? Ever feel bad, awful, guilty, dirty? Jesus atones for our sin. And doesn't just send us away neutral, cleanse. He lavishes his righteousness on us, doesn't exchange with us. That's what he does with this guy. Meekness, it has something to do with the restraining power of the right we have. It's gentle, it's caring, considerate, selfless. It has no concern for his own well-being. Let me give you another one, just a quick one here. Jesus and Matthew, who's writing this, quotes the Old Testament and says this was to fulfill after watching Jesus in ministry, watching him do God. He goes, this was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. Here is my servant, one I have chosen, in whom I delight. My spirit is on him. He will proclaim justice to the nations. He will not quarrel or cry out. No one will hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smouldering wick he will not snuff out. It's been said there. He is a gentle soul who avoids confrontation, squabbling. He avoids resistance and fighting and sticking up for himself. This might be confusing. What does this mean? That you will not hear his voice in the streets? I think that's a reference to, those people who always need to have their voice heard. It's why I'm in this job, okay? It's not true, okay? And I've always got a complaint, and I've always got to moan about it, grumble about it. I think here's a man who can take it on the chin. Notice in verse 20 that Jesus is all about second chances. That's meekness. It looks for the smallest sign of life and goes out of its way to revive that which is dead, it seems. The meek always believe in the best in people. I was talking to a friend recently, and I mentioned something, and their response was completely contrast to mine. Mine was suspicious and whatever else, and theirs was, they looked upon it in a positive light. Meekness does that. Blessed are the meek, they will inherit the earth. Look, that's a bit of a glimpse. Meekness incorporates multiple virtues. It's gentle, it's humble, it's caring, it's considerate, it's selfless. It avoids confrontation. It doesn't grab for what it can get, all that it can get. It doesn't dig its heels in. It thinks the best of the others. It goes out of its way to revive a lost cause. And I want to just develop this one. It exercises great power with control. You may look at me and think 5'6", 55 kgs. I could take him on. He doesn't look much. You thinking that? You thinking that? Don't you try it, young lady. No, you'll probably beat me in arm wrestling easily. Okay? Look, I don't want us to confuse the meekness with a lack of power. Okay? Meekness is great power controlled. It's easy to confuse Jesus with somebody weak. Look at him, gentle. Oh, he's so gentle, isn't he? And so cute. We thought of him when he was a baby. And he's so kind to women, and the poor. And you can get a feeling that he's some kind of wimp, can't you? Let me tell you what it's like. When he enters a temple and they are desecrating his father's house of prayer, what does he do? He gets a whip and he drives out. That is not the work of a wimp. That's a man of strength and confidence and authority. And how did he speak to people who thought they were powerful? Not quivering at the lips. You know how he took on the religious establishment? Those who held the seat of power? Do you know how he did? You brood of vipers! You whitewashed tombs! You tried standing in the ring with Mike Tyson back when he was doing his stuff and talking like that to him. We're not dealing with weakness here. And even the devil, you know how he spoke to devils? Do you know how Jesus spoke to devils? Do you know how he spoke to devils? Get out! Now! This is a man of great strength, authority, and power. And yet, the meekest, loveliest, gentlest, caring, loving person you could ever meet. So let's not confuse meekness with weakness. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. My time is up. Look, I need to finish. Only to say, Christian, this isn't something that we can choose for ourselves. This is something that's endemic to being a Christian. It has to characterize and flavour everything about me and you. It's a prerequisite to heaven. May the Spirit of Jesus so live in us that others say of us, he was a meek, or she was a meek soul. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the kingdom of God.